Need a laptop that's built to perform and designed to last all day? Select Windows 11 PCs starting at $499.99 are now at Best Buy. Learn more at bestbuy.com. Best Buy. Imagine that.
Katz and Cosby, entertaining and informative
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Breaking news, WABC.
Well, I haven't slept last night. I was up till 2 o'clock in the morning, and before I got to sleep, watching the Trump birthday party.
Oh my goodness! I was tuned in too.
and Trump was up to 2 o'clock in the morning, watching the birthday party and the wrestling matches or the boxing or the fighting, and then instead of going to sleep, he goes on his airplane and on the way to Geneva.
And not only that, John, then he shows up all the way over there in France, and then he ends up meeting with Macron, and he's sharp as a tack, and the whole world is over there meeting with him and talking, of course, about Iran, and talking, of course, he also said, by the way, he said yesterday he had about an hour phone call with Putin and also a call with Zelensky. That's his birthday. That's amazing.
He's 80 years old, but he's working 80 hours a week.
He is incredible. And
he does more in a week than Biden did in 4 years.
Oh, my God. Than Biden did, I think, in 80-plus years.
And the stock market hit an all-time high again today.
It skyrocketed today, all-time high. You could tell that they love the news that it looks like this deal, at least the beginning phase, it seems to be done. The official signing's happening, they say, in Switzerland on Friday. President Trump says he doesn't think he's going to stay that long in France because it's right across the way where they are in France, right across from Geneva. But he thinks that J.D. Vance will go there, and he seems confident that at least phase one seems to be done, John, and that would be good.
People are out there saying, the Iranians are never going to live by it. But let me tell you something. President Trump is going to bomb them again if they screw around.
And that's just what he said. He said, look, hopefully they live up to it. And if not, the pounding's coming. We're going to do it again and again and again. And the one thing he keeps hitting on too, John, and this is important for everybody, for all of our millions of listeners, that what he's essentially saying is that this is a proof of performance. He is making the case that if they don't do X, they're not going to get any sort of benefit whatsoever, even if it's in reconstruction or a whole bunch of things, there will be no benefit. So he's saying the proof is in the pudding, and he's skeptical, but he's hoping it happens, and we should all hope for good things.
Trump is the toughest president we ever had?
Well, he's definitely the best bomber. I think he is the toughest. I absolutely do. And they know that they're not messing around. Look, how many other presidents said, you can't have a nuclear weapon and just let it happen? I mean, $1.7 billion of cash in the middle of the night on pallets by Obama.
The midnight flight by Obama?
Right. I mean, think about how many other presidents made the promise that they would try to do something and did nothing, Judge. Did nothing.
Look, the fact of the matter is General Keane or General Holt will point out he did a fantastic job from a military perspective. But now the devil is in the details with respect to this deal. Do we really have a nuclear-free Iran? Do we really stop the proxies for waging war across the Middle East? Are there certain protections for the poor people of Iran? All that remains to be seen. But we have to work with the president. We have to hope for the best. But as Reagan famously said, trust but verify. And with these people, the Iranians, you have to verify, verify, verify.
Yeah, that is the key. The devil's in the details, and also making sure that they actually do live up to this. By the way, he also said something interesting today on the nuclear dust, the nuclear material. He was saying, guys, that he did not believe that it had to be taken out right away. He said, when we are ready to do it, we expect to do it, and that might be in a month or two. And when we're ready to do it, we're going in.
That story I sent you folks over the weekend, I found very troubling. There were reports that, in fact...
Yes.
That they were either moving stuff out, and additionally, with respect to their major site, they had set up explosives to booby trap it so people going in would be killed.
Yeah, which is scary.
That's very serious stuff.
Really serious stuff, and that's why everything's in the details on this one.
Now, is Bill O'Reilly coming on today, or is he traveling?
Bill O'Reilly is joining us, and who better than the great Bill O'Reilly, top nonfiction best-selling author. Yeah, where is the Irish music? You just like playing that song, right?
That song. We love Bing Crosby.
Yeah. Are we ready, Bill? Phil, do we have it? Here it is.
When I wish I smiling, short is like a morn.
Well, is there peace in Ireland yet?
I don't know about that because there were a lot of protests going
Little
on there.
Riley, where are we starting today?
The Iranian thing is interesting. I think that you have a situation now where you have to assume that Iran is going to try to cheat. And I do believe that the Trump administration has built that in, that they'll try to move stuff around, as you were just reporting. And because these people, they're not looking out for anybody but themselves, and they truly believe it's their calling to have a nuclear weapon so they can hurt people. So you gotta go in with that posture that they're going to try to cheat, but that doesn't mean you reject the treaty. And why would you do that? Because if they do cheat, then the president will punish them the way he seems fit. What bothers me is that the media, which is aligned with the Democratic Party, does not want this deal. They don't want it to happen. I've never seen that. I've been around a long time, since U.S. Grant. I've really never seen a media rooting against its own country. But that's exactly what's happening. Within 10 minutes of the announcement that there was a deal, CNN put a guy named Nick Robertson on. He's been around forever. He's their foreign analyst. And he's trashing the deal right away.
They want turmoil. They want to try to affect November. They want turmoil. They want oil prices to stay at $100 a barrel because they're upset that we're going to have cheap gasoline again. They're upset that there's going to be no inflation, and they're upset that interest rates are going to come down because they can't blame inflation anymore. I mean,
but have you ever seen that before?
Yeah, I saw it under Trump 45. There was no inflation, and gasoline was $2.50 a gallon.
Yeah, even in the Reagan administration, where the president did not like President Reagan, they weren't actively rooting against their own country. I mean, they wanted to bolster Carter in a race, and they did everything they could to get Carter reelected. But there wasn't like, okay, the Soviet Union is going to collapse under Bush, and we're sad about it. Remember that?
Yep.
So I was at the collapse of the Berlin Wall. I was there. And the media I was standing on that platform with Jennings and Brokaw. Rather wasn't there. I don't know why. But I was within 10 feet of both of them. And there was a celebratory aspect to it. And now you compare then, and they didn't have any use for Bush the Elder. They wanted Clinton to win, they being the media. But there wasn't, look, we can't allow the American people to celebrate this victory because we'll say it isn't a victory. Now, I expect that, as you just pointed out, John, from the opposing party. You expect that. And they did it right away. And it's legacy versus legacy now. Obama's involved because he's looking at it from, I did X. X didn't really work, but I'm going to say it worked, and this isn't working. So you got a former president against a current president. Fascinating story, but as we approach July 4th, the 250th anniversary, I've never seen a country other than the Civil War in a historical basis as divided as it is now.
There's got to be a big blowout one way or another this November because the American people, I don't think they're that stupid. I think they're starting to see what the heck is going on. As a matter of fact, right after this, your interview here, Melissa DeRosa is going to come on, who's very big in the Democratic Party, and she's going to talk about the big divide in the Democratic Party.
You had Hakeem Jeffries, the New Yorker, second in command in the House, wouldn't answer the question, hey, if you win in November, you're going to impeach Trump again. I mean, do you think the American people want to go through this circus again? It's impossible to remove him because the Senate's you're never going to get 2/3 of the Senate to do that. But it's just, I think turmoil is the right word. The opposing party, the Democrats, they want turmoil.
They have lost their minds, Bill O'Reilly, and they've lost their minds.
Yeah, and they're campaigning on it, too. I mean, as we're going to talk to Melissa, like, one of the things that's stunning to me, guys, is that they're out there this weekend, abolish ICE. I've never seen them, like, say, they're going and the mass men doing this, and Trump is the worst, and even saying they're going to impeach Trump, some of them. I mean, it's really frightening, Bill. I've never seen people so blatantly anti, like you said, American.
Where are they on the 300,000 kids we're missing?
Jane Fonda crew. And Jane Fonda is about as anti-American as you can get. I mean, anybody who was around the Vietnam era, what that woman did, and she apologized for it, and Americans largely forgave her, but now she's at it again. So I think she's 88 years old. I really think it's time for Jane, and I will pay for this. A few weeks on Caribbean island or something, take some time off, Jane, and take Robert De Niro with you.
Oh, my goodness. By the way, Bill, you just triggered it. Did you see what Robert De Niro said this weekend? I couldn't believe it.
I mean, I know De Niro. I told you the story about me and Ethel Kennedy and De Niro.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
He's just a loon. Sorry, Robert. You're a great actor, but you're a loon. And but Jane is out there screaming, okay, Jane, we get it. And I just want to a couple of things about the Knicks. As you guys know, I'm a Knicks fan, and I go to some of the games. But I'm not, in with the Gardens. They don't give me anything, or I wouldn't take it anyway. I don't do that. But I knew it was much better for the Knicks to win in San Antonio than in New York because of the thug factor, I call it. And there were 63 arrests at least. We'll get updated numbers later on today.
They burned the school buses. They burned some buses.
Police cars, 70 police cars.
10 cops in the hospital. Not one of those miscreants who participated in that, not one, will be prosecuted by Bragg, I predict. Not one.
Horrible.
It's frightening. By the way, what an amazing game that was on Saturday night, Bill. I couldn't believe they came back, and when they won, that was just, I was glued watching it.
It was an interesting game. I'm not a sports guy, but I know a lot about sports. So I go on with Sid every Thursday, and I have to school him sometimes. So I knew, or, put my money where my mouth was, that the Knicks were going to win. And because it was essentially Brunson against the big giant Wemby. That's what it came down to.
Yep.
And Brunson puts up 45.
Right, and the rest of the team did 49 points.
Right.
I mean, you can't. How amazing was that guy? Was Brunson?
And then you could see that the younger kid, I think he was only 22 years old, he didn't have control of the game. He should have been by the glass. He should have been in tight because he's so much bigger than everybody else, but he wasn't. He was standing at the three-point line. And I said, man, the Knicks are getting a big, big break. Just watching how Wemby played the game. But the difference between the New York crowd and the San Antonio crowd, I think the San Antonio crowd went out to eat chicken fried steak at halftime and didn't come back. They knew. But it was great for the city, and sports should bind everybody together except for Robert De Niro. But I was happy to see it in Texas because it would have been 100 times worse had they won at the Garden.
Yeah, sadly. Absolutely. And how sad is that? But it is great. And I can't wait to see the ticker take parade is going to be on Thursday. So that's going to be neat. And they deserve it. I mean, it been the most amazing series, I think, Bill.
I really thought they were going to stretch it out to 7 games.
Well, that was a conspiracy that they wanted to do it. But Catsimatidis is so involved with the parades that he should be, leading it. I don't know how many Greeks are on a team. I think there's none. But you got the Greek. And it's Pride Month, so we're all proud. I don't know what we're proud of, but we're proud. And so everybody will be out there.
Oh, it's going to be huge.
I hope that everybody's having fun and not burning down school buses. I mean, come on.
I mean, that was horrible. Those people should go away and throw the key away.
It's horrible. It is. But I agree with you, Bill. I fear that you're right. They're just going to get a slap on the wrist.
Melissa DeRosa is waiting on the other line.
Hey, Bill, thank you. We love you, Bill.
Thank you. And we're going to go to Melissa and see what the heck is going on in the Democratic Party.
Thank you, Bill. Thanks so much.
Okay, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And let's go to Melissa DeRosa, former senior aide to Governor Cuomo. Melissa, what the heck is happening with the Democratic Party? Is there like a Democratic civil war this weekend? I mean, you see Ro Khanna out there who was saying, we got to get rid of the old faces. We got to move towards the new. He's referring to the Democratic Socialists of America.
Well, it's good to be back with you guys. I hope everyone enjoyed the Knicks' victory over the weekend. It definitely was sweet for all of us. Nice way to bring us all together. And on the other hand, you have the Democratic Party, which is steeped in this, as you said, Rita, this civil war. And it's playing out in our own backyard in a truly fascinating way, because you've got Chuck Schumer, who is the Senate Minority Leader, but the conference leader of the Democrats, and Hakeem Jeffries, the conference leader of the Democrats for the House. And they've got preferred candidates in Brooklyn, in Washington Heights, in the Bronx. And then you've got Zohran Mamdani and Bernie Sanders coming in to instead support and endorse people who are members of the DSA, who frankly have no qualifications, who have taken positions that to call them radical is an understatement of the century. Just the anti-American, anti-LGBTQ, anti-white, anti-everything you could possibly come up with. Not just, defund ICE, abolish the border. Like the things that some of these candidates who Bernie and Zohran Mamdani are supporting against Hakeem and Chuck Schumer's preferred choices, who are also, by the way, incumbents, people like Adriano Espaillat, people like Dan Goldman, who are real Democrats, who have always towed the Democratic Party line and have been firsts in their own right in different ways. And they're coming into Hakeem and Schumer's backyard because right now this is the tail that wags the dog. This is the socialists are trying to make their move to take over the Democratic Party and fling it all the way to the extreme. And it's playing out here in New York. And right now we've got early voting going on. So we'll see as soon as Tuesday, what comes of this. But between that and Ro Khanna's comments and a lot of other things that are going around the country, Graham Plattner, Al Sayed in Michigan, make no mistake, the party is on the precipice of splitting open.
Yeah. So who wins this fight? And then, the other thing I thought of, too, was you've got Chevalier. That's the woman, the Democratic Socialist, who Mamdani's backing in New York. And then you got in D.C. that woman who looks like she has a good chance. And she's a Democratic.
She's a Democratic Socialist. She looks like she's going to be elected as mayor of the District of Columbia. Isn't that awful?
Yeah.
And they pick like solid Democrat seats. It looks like that's the interesting thing, Lisa, Melissa. You look at like the Hamaway in New Jersey. That's a very solid Democratic seat there. So they kind of prop them up with big money, big social media, big efforts. You see it also, it's against Espaillat and Chevalier. And then you've got obviously DC too. So they sort of know where they can kind of prop them up and then hopefully they win in their party, but it's bad for America.
No, exactly. They're going after these safe Democratic seats, so that they don't have to confront a general election necessarily. And even in places like Michigan, which is purple, El Sayed is running with his arm around Hassan Piker and Bernie Sanders, and he's running on the DSA type platform. And, I think they've made the calculation they'd rather win that primary and lose the general election, but have won the primary than win the war. And it is right now a strategic takeover of the party. And, it's interesting. If you look up the definition of the word parasite, it is an organism that latches on to the larger being, and it sucks and feeds off of them in order to grow themselves with the ultimate goal of killing the host. And that is what is happening. The socialists are parasites on the Democratic Party, and they've latched on, and they are now trying to take
No,
over
you're wrong.
the traditional
They're
Democratic
parasites
Party.
in the entire country.
Yeah. And it's just, and I like to remind people, Bernie Sanders, who's out there leading the charge on this, is number one, every time they say, oh, it's time for the older guard to retire and step aside. Okay, well, Bernie Sanders is like 122 years old. So is he stepping aside too? Because I don't think the rules should just apply to
And Melissa, he's
and
never
Nancy
been a
Pelosi.
Democrat.
And that's my other point.
Right.
He's never been a Democrat.
But he
Never
loves the
declared himself
Democratic
a Democrat.
Socialists, so that's all that
Exactly.
matters.
Exactly. And they use our party line in order to get these fringe candidates with no experience and no real pathway forward to get anything done for real people elected purely on ideological and class warfare grounds. And so it's playing out across the country, but we have a front row seat right here in New York City, and we'll see what happens next Tuesday. They're putting a lot of political capital into those 3 congressional seats. I think Brad Lander has got Goldman. I think Goldman's pretty much cooked. But then we'll see what's going to happen with Valdez and versus Reynoso in Brooklyn, and then Adriano Espaillat, who, by the way, is also the chairman of the Hispanic Caucus up in Washington Heights.
Right, but that doesn't matter because he's not a Democratic Socialist.
Exactly. Despite the fact that he votes with Democrats 100% of the time, he's not out saying abolish the border, abolish the police, abolish ICE. He's not far enough to the left for them, and so they want to take him out. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens here.
Yeah, and it's so dangerous for the country. That, to me, is the big issue, too, Melissa, that it's so dangerous that they are willing to allow people like this to proceed. And you look at some of the policies of them, abolish ICE. I mean, over the weekend, we even heard Zohran Mamdani constantly bashing ICE, saying, masked men swooping people off the street. And that's what you're hearing from a lot. It's like the same rhetoric, anti-Semitic, anti-law enforcement. Like, this is not a good trend.
So let's get this straight. So Antifa and Black Lives Matter protesters, they can wear masks, but law enforcement can't.
That is something else, that double standard, which makes absolutely no sense. And by the way, wreak havoc while they're doing it, right? Destruction of property, bullying of people. And Hochul passed a pretty toothless mask ban last year and, signed it with great fanfare and pretending it was an accomplishment, but really it's not been enforced at all. And the people who are wearing those masks are bullying, intimidating, harassing people who are going about their lives, whether it's because they're Jewish, they just happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, whatever it is. But no, it is getting out of control. And because of the way they've redone the redistricting now, where we've sort of gotten rid of a lot of purple seats, they're now solidly blue or solidly red, it does really come down to the primaries. And when you don't have competition, you don't have accountability, and it allows for these people who are like in the nutty wing of the party who subscribe to these crazy ideas to take over. And it's like we are right now the frog in the pot of boiling water. It's happening around us, and people have to wake up to it, because otherwise in another 2, 4, 6 years, that's it. The Democratic Party is going to be the Socialist Party, and it's going to be the Socialists and the Republicans. The middle will be gone entirely.
Yeah, well, there's 2 ways they do it. Either the Democratic Party revolts and takes their party back, or number 2, they lose 49 states.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think that the DSA would rather, again, lose lose the overall, if you lose Michigan, we don't care because we got El Sayed through the primary and he's going to be our person. Graham Plattner, who's previously called himself a communist, and all the other things we've talked about that's wrong with that guy on this show. You know, he took Janet Mills. He beat the establishment. So it's all noun, verb, oligarch, noun, verb, APAC. They don't really have a plan to get anything done or improve anybody's lives. They're dangerous when it comes to public safety. And it's a serious threat to the party, and I don't think enough people are paying attention.
Yeah, I'm glad we are. Melissa DeRosa, thank you so much. It's always great to have your perspective, Melissa.
Thank you, guys. Have a good week.
Thank you.
Thank you for the great for the news.
Thank you very much. And you guys, we're going to take a quick break, and then we have Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna right afterwards. She's on the House Foreign Affairs Committee.
Well, she also knows about UFOs.
So things out of this world and on this world. Oh, yeah, we need some good music. This gives Phil some time during the break.
Katz and Cosby, entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Well, Anna Paulina Luna, is Captain Kirk back from the 24th century?
Hey, John. So happy to be on. How are you doing?
I am doing good. And, I've been watching this all weekend, and I even got to see that movie that's on Amazon. What was the name of that movie?
Is it the new one with Steven Spielberg?
No,
Disclosure Day? Is that what you're talking about?
No,
yeah.
See, it's the one, the Age of Disclosure.
Oh, yeah.
On Prime Video.
In that one.
And there's a big movie.
Yeah, the Age of Disclosure on Prime Video on a scale of 1 to 10 was an 11.
Oh, wow. So Congresswoman, this is Rita. Fill us in on what you know, because they did a big release just recently.
They did. In fact, they released more of their findings, which, again, a lot of people had asked me, they're like, when I first got this task force, they said, are you sure they're not just doing this to, try to ruin your political reputation? I said, well, maybe, but the fact is that this is out there, and because of President Trump, we were able to get some historical declassification, which, to be clear, we had been previously blocked on releasing all this information and or been lied to various government agencies, specifically pertaining to, this information even existing. So obviously a huge day just for the American people on transparency. But what I will say is that, there's ongoing investigations. So most recently, I actually had talked to Stephen Miller at the White House, and we have a list of UAP whistleblowers that have alleged that they know locations of alleged craft and or materials. And I know that might sound kind of crazy, but our job is not to speculate. It's to see if we can find any evidence. And so we're asking,
Congresswoman,
for immunity. Go ahead.
How much more do you know that they haven't told us?
Well, I've been pretty straightforward on everything that has been declassified and that I've been able to say. But what I will, follow up with is the last really thing in question that I have is, are these whistleblowers that are saying that they know locations of materials and potentially biologics, are they telling the truth, or is this fabricated? And so we are asking for immunity and protection so that they won't be hit with a violation of release of classified information or compartmentalized information from the White House. And I do believe that the White House will play ball. And when we know the results of those investigations, we'll be letting you know. But
are the men in black, the theoretical men in black, are some of these scientists that are missing, and one of them was found dead, are the rest of them dead too?
Well, I think that they're not coming back. If we haven't found them by now, I think that, for the amount of scientists to die in weird circumstances, one of them, I believe, that was found recently was shot. I mean, that's not coincidental. I think the question is, though, is it related to UAP or is it related to foreign government trying to hinder our ability in the next, defense race here?
Maybe it's also maybe related to people want them to keep their mouth shut.
Yeah, I think it's a very real possibility. I mean, it's caused such a stir, at least in Washington, that the FBI is looking into and investigating if there's correlation or not. And so I think that it's weird. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but it's definitely weird. But to answer your question, John, are there men in black? I definitely think that there are people at agencies investigating these things. Are they telling people to shut up? I think historically they have, yes. Are they doing it now? No longer, because they're being authorized to declassify. But I think that idea of Men in Black definitely stemmed for
The
good
strange
reason.
one is that Major General. I mean, this is.
Yeah, who left without his phone. Remember, he left with a gun, without his phone and money. That was odd.
No one does that.
Right, exactly. Your phone, it's like, where's your phone? You know, I mean, that is very peculiar, don't you think, Congresswoman?
100%. Most people, again, don't do that. And I actually had talked to Avi Loeb, who has been asked by the White House. He's a Harvard's astrophysicist, and he's actually been asked by the White House to head up a task force specifically looking into these things. And what I will say is that, he tells me not to get too worried and that he doesn't think that the missing scientists are related. However, he also is in the same field of study that some of these scientists were in. And so I told him, Avi, you got to be careful.
But just want to tell all our listeners, the age of destruction, the age of, what I call it?
Disclosure.
The age of disclosure on Prime Video on a scale of 1 to 10 was an 11. Now, what else are we going to talk about?
Rita? Before we let you go, what do you make of the Iran deal?
Well, I think that it's pretty good for the American people. Since 2009, President Trump was very adamant that Iran could not have a nuclear weapon. And regardless of what the critics may say, the fact is that part of the negotiated deal was that Iran will fully denuclearize. And as a part of that, I want to be clear for listeners that might be tuning in, there's been this push by the people that are trying to kill the peace deal that we're paying Iranians to do this. That's not true. The U.S. government had frozen Iranian assets that once denuclearization is fully met and the peace deal is signed and goes through, that they will have access to those funds seized by the U.S. government. So not one U.S. taxpayer dollar is going towards that. And then to finalize, the Strait of Hormuz is now open. There aren't going to be taxes. Iran is completing a demining mission. And in addition to that, it's going to open them up to opportunity and prosperity, something that they haven't had in a really long time. So not one president could accomplish this except for President Trump.
You're absolutely right there. He's done a great job, and the only one that has the courage to get that job done.
100%. So for the people that parrot things on the internet, and having been a part of some of these conversations and talked to the president directly, when I spoke with him time and time again, never once was he advocating for boots on the ground, and never once was he trying to keep this going longer than he needed to. And this is strictly done for safety of the American people. And I applaud his efforts, and he will be recognized as such on a global scale.
Well, let's all pray for peace. That is the amazing thing. If this happens, this is incredible. Absolutely incredible. Congresswoman, we love having you here, too. And it was great having you in studio when you were in New York not too long ago. We loved it.
I'll be back. I miss you guys.
Yeah, anytime. You're welcome anytime.
Look forward to it.
Yeah. So
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.
And the top news of the day, and we don't have a sponsor yet, do we?
No, not this week.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean tomorrow is a new day, right?
You're right.
All right. Here's the headlines.
It's the top news of the day. Here's Rita Cosby.
And here are some of the big headlines, everybody. First, a B-52 crashed at Edwards Air Force Base in California. The base said that it happened shortly after aircraft takeoff this morning, local time. No details on what caused it. And we're going to be talking with General Blaine Holt about that and a whole bunch more coming up. Also, California Governor Gavin Newsom says President Trump has sent the U.S. Department of Justice to investigate him, his wife, and members of his staff. Newsom made the announcement in a video release this morning. And Thursday morning, everybody, at 10 a.m., the Knicks are going to go on a ticker tape parade through the Canyon of Heroes. It's going to begin at Battery Park. It's going to end at City Hall. And, of course, thousands upon thousands of fans are going to pack Lower Manhattan to celebrate their championship squad. And of course, millions are going to be watching on TV around the world. It's going to be cool to see. It was a great game, John. That was an amazing, amazing game with the Knicks.
It was coming from 29 points behind.
Yeah, and then they were behind on this one, too, on this game, and they came back. And it was in like dramatic fashion. They deserve it. Bravo to the Knicks.
Well, let's take a break, and we're going to come back with Todd Lyons to tell us what the heck is going on in the borders.
Cats and Cosby, entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Breaking news, WABC.
And some big news just coming in from the Supreme Court. Judge Weinberg, what are you getting there?
In a case that's coming from the United States Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit. The Supreme Court is going to review that case, and the question is, what kind of time limits you can place on the federal government holding illegal aliens in custody. It's a big, big case. And I'd love to hear what Director Lyons has to say.
So they're going to review it. In other words, they're agreeing to hear the case.
Absolutely right.
That's an interesting. So let's. Perfect.
The Supreme Court as well, or the appeals court is willing to hear it?
No, the Supreme Court's going to hear it.
That's interesting. So it's, and who brought the case? What was the precipitation of the case?
Illegal aliens being detained.
Saying that they were there too long,
right? And
now that is going to be heard by the Supreme Court. Wow!
Because the Second Circuit kept talking about due process rights, and the question is, what do you mean by due process? How much process are they due, and what's the length of time?
Right, and again, these are illegal immigrants in our country.
Right.
Okay, so let's go to Director Todd Lyons, the former acting director of ICE. Director, this news just broke. This is interesting. How do you read this?
Yeah, no, Rita, thanks. Yeah, it's definitely interesting. You especially during my tenure, there was a lot of talk about due process and, what we afforded, illegal aliens that were in our custody. One thing that I always wanted to point out to everybody was ICE always held individuals in custody for removal, not for punitive reasons. So we never wanted to hold people long enough, just long enough to get rid of them, right? We wanted to make sure we gave them their right. They have the chance to see a judge. If they aren't here long enough, they're not supposed to be here legally. We have to get rid of them. They got to go back to their home country. So we do a great job of making sure that they see a judge timely. But the fact of the matter is they're here illegally. So I'm happy that the Supreme Court's going to take a good look at this, because a lot of times there are so many illegal aliens that love to run the clock out and love to use certain circuits that are, if we could say, non-citizen friendly or very left-leaning, and will love to run the clock out a lot of these things, and they get a chance to another bite at the apple and get a chance to stay. So I like the fact that the Supreme Court's taking a look at this, and we'll get a good final ruling, and the court will make the ruling, and it'll be good for us going forward. We'll have a final say.
Exactly. There's some clarity
Instead
at least on it.
38
right.
different federal judges deciding every other day.
Right. That's a good point, too. How much has the lawfare affected you, too? That's a great point, John.
The whole strategy is to try to block up the system, jam up the system.
Yeah. And you're right. The worst part is we've seen it so many times where people will judge shop or circuit shop, and that's really not how you do law enforcement, right? It's the rule of law, how the law is written, and it shouldn't go off one person's interpretation, and you shouldn't do it by one class or another. It should just be the way it's written, and I'm really looking forward to how the Supreme Court's going to rule on this one.
Yeah, absolutely. In the meantime, some major developments coming and finding these missing kids that were brought over during the Biden administration, the wide open southern border. There were close to 450, I think, thousand, as you know better than anybody. And I saw that we've located the Trump administration. Thank goodness is located. It's 145,000. That still makes a couple 100,000 that they haven't found. This is so horrible. And the Democrats are silent on this. When you hear what happens to these kids, Director Lyons, it's horrible. I mean, the sexual assault and the human trafficking, these kids and people pretending to be sponsors and they weren't sponsors, slave labor. I mean, just the most horrific stories ever. And yet Democrats aren't saying a word about it.
No, and you know what? Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche said it best. When you have a porous border, an open border, the most vulnerable are affected. And that's truly what happened to these kids. And that's the sad thing. We saw so many NGOs, non-governmental organizations sponsored by our own government that were taking advantage of these children. And Rita, to your point, these super sponsors taking in 12, 16 kids, not even knowing who their parents were, not even knowing any blood relatives, bringing these poor kids across the border. Border Patrol agents saw these kids come across the border with if found, with a name and phone number pinned to their sweater or their shirt, right? And we don't know where those kids went. And yet it was a government subsidy that we were paying these NGOs to take these children off our hands from CBP and Border Patrol, and we never kept accountability. Luckily, Secretary Mullen and AG Blanche were able to come out and say, hey, we located 146,000, but there are so many other kids out there that we don't know what happened to them. It could be child labor trafficking, could be child sex trafficking. We just don't know what happened to these poor kids.
It is absolutely horrific. There is no doubt, and everybody should be concerned about it. And bravo for finding 146,000. That is a really enormous feat. Director Todd Lyons, we'd love having you on. Thank you for always joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah, anytime.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And you
Now,
guys,
let's go to General Holt. A B-52 bomber crashed a few hours ago.
yeah, we got some breaking news on that.
And give us the breaking news.
Breaking news, WABC.
A B-52 bomber has 8 engines. What the heck happened, General Holt? What the heck happened with the B-52?
Oh, it's so sad. It's at Edwards Air Force Base. That is our test base where we test aircraft, new avionics, new methods of propulsion, new everything. And everybody on the crew, if they are from Edwards, then they are a test crew. They're test pilots, test navigators, and the like. What we're going to find out probably is that something knocked that airplane out from a systems perspective as it was taking off. Don't know if we're going to be looking, it's a very complicated system. The transformer rectifiers, not to nerd out on you, but you know about those, John. It's all of the DC and the AC electrics that go through that thing. And if you're at a critical phase of flight and all of a sudden the gas stops, you're done. And I'm so broken up for those families and the loss of our airmen. Everything
But that never happens on a B-52.
Well, but this is at Edwards, and Edwards is where we put new stuff on airplanes and see if it'll work. And every time a test crew goes out to an airplane, they know that everything is really on the line, every single takeoff.
How many were on the crew? By the way, I've been to Edwards. Crew of 5. I've been to Edwards many times, you guys, because I used to work in Bakersfield. So that's where like a lot of the shuttles, and I've gone there for many of their test operations, to your point, Blaine. So you're right. I thought exactly what you're talking about with the test, but how sad. I just looked at the crash, the images from the crash. It's really horrific.
Ironically, on this day, the Russians lost in a training accident a Tu-22M bomber, which is a rival to our B-1 on the exact same day. It's really just something to watch an airplane like that, so reliable, go in. And again, all those 5 crew members have stories and families and everything going with them, because when you're a test crew out at Edwards, you don't just fly a B-52. You're qualified as an astrophysicist or an aeronautical engineer to fly darn near anything that they have out there, from fighters to bombers and whatnot. And they're so well trained. I loved being a pilot in the Air Force, but I knew that I didn't have the engineering or the math and science background to be a test pilot at Edwards.
Wow. And before we let you go, your take on what we're hearing with this deal with Iran.
Yeah, it's going extremely well. I think we're going to track towards the finish line very well here. If you don't believe me, check the oil futures prices. We're looking at $74 a barrel.
Oh, the market loves it. I'm telling you, right?
We gotta get Israel to see the brilliance in President Trump's vision, and then I think we'll be fine.
So you feel good about it. That's your assessment. You feel now. Let's get into the details, the real quick about the blockade. Because that is supposed to be lifted come the sort of official signing in Switzerland, maybe Friday. How long? I mean, it's still going to take a while for things to get moving. And then we got to get the nuclear dust. President Trump said it could be a while till that happens.
Yeah, but it is all going to happen. The damage is done to the oil markets and where we're behind on shortages of oil. We got to remove the mines. Maybe the Iranians will help us with that. I'm sure they will. And then we got to take on Lloyds of London and the globalists and the president. Listen, he at the G7, he is running the tables right now. He's killing it.
Oh my God.
And so I think he's going to bring Europe to heel. And I think we're going to have a happily ever after here.
By the way, my favorite line of the day, I was telling John and the judge, was when Macron came out today and he said, I think we're going to be able to help somehow. It's like, thanks, now.
Yeah.
Right, now.
Too.
Right.
George Maloney's like, we're so happy with you. Maybe you could use your bases now and we'll send some Navy people. Oh, okay. Thanks.
Thanks. 3 months too late.
Yeah.
General Holt, thank you for everything you've done, and I mean, I still can't believe that B-52. I mean, that
sad.
airplane
Very
is
sad day. Very sad day.
It's a great airplane.
Yeah, really sad.
It
Keep
is.
us posted, Blaine, what you hear on that. Thank you.
Will do.
Thank you.
God bless.
And you guys, we were talking about the Energizer Bunny. President Trump, there he was at the White House as we were watching.
I was watching
2
him.
in the morning.
He didn't leave the White
ring.
House till about. He was still on television in the ring at like 1:15, 1:30.
You know what was amazing, John? Everybody else was like clearing out, but he's in the ring and he's there with the, introducing
and instead
people.
of going home to sleep, he went to Air Force One and flew to France.
That's amazing. And then he's sharp as a tack, and he's having a dinner. He had a dinner tonight too, also with them over in France. Meetings, dinner. I mean, it's amazing. And joining us now to talk about the Energizer Bunny is Miranda Devine. Miranda really is amazing. I mean, he turned 80 yesterday. He's got like the energy of like a 30-year-old.
He really does. And I mean, to be watching that entire UFC matches and then to get on a plane at 3 a.m. and then just stroll off. And apparently he doesn't even sleep on Air Force One. Marco Rubio tells this very funny story about how he's like hiding under the blankets as Donald Trump's prowling around trying to find somebody to speak to because he doesn't sleep. And Marco's going, I decided, what did my sleep? People who are half his age. But that's it. And, we know from his latest medical records or his medical checkup that he has the cardiac age of someone who is 65 years old. So he's blessed genetically, and I guess he's relatively fit. The doctor said he's slightly overweight, but he also aced the cognitive test that he does, and you see him doing cognitive tests every day. Of course, it does not stop those in the media who covered up for Joe Biden from constantly speculating that somehow he's fading, that he's senile, that he's falling asleep, that he's doddery. And, it really sort of annoys Donald Trump, which is why they do it. And he says something funny, which was that Joe Biden gave old age a bad name.
By the way, Miranda, there was this moment I was watching last week. He's in the White House and flanked by, a whole bunch of members of his cabinet. He looks down, literally, like in real time, it's like half a second. And then you see it on like CNN and elsewhere. Trump falls asleep. And they play it. Anybody who's watching it he looks down for 1 second, like he's looking at maybe to sign because he's signing a bill, and then looks right up. I mean, and yet they were silent during all the Biden era. You can't. It's like it is so alternate universe.
And also, I mean, what's wrong with falling asleep? I used to fall asleep at university in some of my boring lectures that were, if I had a late night or it was the first thing in the morning.
Well, we all did.
That's why you drink coffee. Yes, it's just normal.
Yeah, it is, but it's also exaggeration too. To your point, and what a contrast it is to Joe Biden. Can you imagine? Do you remember when Joe Biden had his visit, and that was part of the real reason during the debate? Remember, he said, I was so tired because I had an overseas trip. Meantime, President Trump's running everything. I mean, he was like the Energizer Bunny last night. He's the Energizer Bunny today.
Yes, and I mean, that overseas trip Joe Biden talked about was about 2 weeks earlier, and he'd just been at Camp David resting up and practicing and having a lovely old time. It wasn't as if he
hopped off a plane,
hard at
right?
The presidency. Yeah.
Right. It wasn't like he hopped off a plane and it was like 2 years earlier he had, I'm exaggerating. Judge Weinberg.
Miranda, I want to ask you about this phenomenon called toxic masculinity invented by the Democrats to go after men, the war against men. Seems they picked a candidate in Maine who's a very embodiment of toxic masculinity.
He's toxic.
Is there a hypocrisy here, a double standard here? Am I missing something?
Yes, well, I think what's happened is that because the Democrats and the left declared war on men, they, lo and behold, found that men didn't want to vote for them and deserted them in droves. So now they're desperate to try and they've spent millions on the man problem. How do we attract men? And so Graham Plattner is sort of like a cartoon image of what a leftist thinks that a masculine male is, because there are no masculine males left in the Democratic Party. So it's sort of this theoretical model. They think, oh, we've got to get someone with tattoos, a deep, fake, in my view, totally fake voice, with some military background, who swears, who's vile, who's a sexist, who abuses women.
Who's anti-Semitic.
Anti-Semitic, all these things.
Anti-gay rights.
Yeah, anti-African and blacks, too. Remember, he made some very, right.
Yeah. So racist, homophobic, sexist, all the things that they accuse Republicans of or accuse Donald Trump of, they went and found themselves the one candidate in Maine who kind of cosplays a masculine male, but actually is a leftist in disguise, pretends that he's like a working class guy, dresses up like one, but actually was born with that silver spoon in his mouth, went to a $75,000 a year prep school, and he's supposedly an oyster farmer, and they call him an oyster man. Apparently, there's no such word as an oyster man, but it poses now as a newly minted oyster farmer. His one client is his mother's restaurant.
Right.
So,
a real self-made man.
And his parents didn't his father put up the mortgage or something, right? And his home?
It's the house he lives in.
Right.
It's the house he lives in. Everything about him is a construction. We've seen the two kind of crazy Democrat, I don't know what they are, strategists who went to Maine with the specific purpose to find someone that looked like they were from central casting but would still be a Democrat candidate and a far leftist. Graham Plattner calls himself a communist. That's what he is. That's what his prescriptions are. So I guess if you're not paying very much attention and you just look at a photo of him, you might mark the X on his name because he looks like a man who looks like a working class sort of Maine, rugged guy, military veteran, and all the tats, including the Nazi tattoo that he pretended he didn't know what it was. But, if you open your eyes just slightly and really look at him speak, I think the phoniness just drips out of every pore. I can't imagine that he's going to do well, but the polls show that, Mainers seem to enjoy him.
Yeah. Well, and that's the scary thing. All these women behind him, Miranda, it killed me watching it. The victory spell, like clapping like lemmings. Are you kidding me? What are you doing behind him? And then we had the Maine GOP chair who said it's better they're behind him than in front of him.
Yes, exactly. That is very good. I don't know. Look, I don't know if those are real women, if they're paid, if they're just so brainwashed that they will vote for Hitler if it means that Donald Trump doesn't, get some power stripped from him. That's all they're about. And as Judge Weinberg started this all off by saying, it's hypocrisy. It absolutely is. I remember the days when Elon Musk was being castigated by Democrats for raising his arm, and they froze it in a photo and said it was a Hitler salute. Ridiculous. And yet here is a guy with an actual Nazi tattoo
for 17 years.
He didn't know. Randy didn't know what it was. He never watched a World War II movie.
Well, and he calls himself a history buff, and we now have two former girlfriends, maybe there are more because they seem to be coming out of the woodwork every day, who said he absolutely knew what it was. He called it my Totenkopf, or if I'm pronouncing it correctly.
Yep.
He said to another girlfriend, oh, yes, I know, I keep the Nazi tattoo because I want everyone to know that America was the bad guys overseas. He's also anti-American.
It's really frightening. Miranda, I've never seen anybody like this. It is shocking that anybody would even vote for this guy, too. It's despicable. Miranda, thank you. We love you. Thank you so much, Miranda.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so
talking
much.
to you.
And let's take a break, and we're going to come back with Joe Concha.
Yeah.
And he has some interesting things to say.
Wait till you hear who's endorsing Graham Plattner. Wow.
Cats and Cosby, entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Breaking news, WABC.
And this just in, Apollo Global Management is now hedging its bets, John, and it is moving operations to Austin, Texas. Of course, this comes after a whole bunch. Yeah.
Well, it comes after last week. Exxon moved from New Jersey after 140 years in New Jersey. They moved to Texas.
Yep.
And Ken Griffin from New York looks like it's going to Miami.
Yep, he's expanding.
And Samsung has moved out of New Jersey, and they're on their way to Texas, too.
So there's a trend here, guys. Clearly, there is a trend. Well, joining us now to talk about this, and also Bill Maher is Joe Concha. Joe, of course, you can listen to Joe every night at 9 to 10 p.m. on 77 WABC. Joe, fill us in on all this. It's like the Exodus continues. We should have played Exodus music.
We should have. And Rita, Katz, I'm telling you guys, we're talking about billions of dollars in tax revenue from all these people that would work here, that would be employed here, gainfully employed here. And instead, that's going to go to Texas. It's going to go to other states that don't have state income taxes. And the socialist running this city has no clue what he's in store for. Now, he just got a nice bailout from Kathy Hochul from upstate New York. Those things aren't going to continue. And eventually, all the good businesses are going to move out of here. Texas, Florida, Tennessee, we've talked about it for a long time. It's happening, and the mayor doesn't seem to have any clue what to do about it, except for the fact that he doxed, literally, Ken Griffin, the CEO of Citadel. And he said, all right, that video alone is the reason why I am leaving. All right, great job, Memdani. And when people start to wake up and realize that he is destroying the city, only then will he realize exactly the damage he's doing at this point, Rita. Kat.
Did you see, by the way, at the Knicks game, we were talking about Jalen Brunson, of course, the star player, and he got the MVP. He was asked, are you glad you came to New York? And his answer was, well, I miss the taxes in Texas.
Texas. Exactly.
It was a great answer. He's on top of the world, and he's thinking of the taxes that all of us deal with in New York.
Absolutely. Guys, remember Tom Brady could have gone anywhere after he left the Patriots, right? He went to the Bucks, Tampa Bay, not like an historically great team, the Buccaneers. But why did he go to Florida? Oh, maybe because they have no state income taxes there. And, oh, by the way, the weather's really nice. Florida is like California, except with all the crap. And if you could avoid the crap, which is homelessness, which is poverty, which is obviously people that can't handle wildfires, the highest taxes in the country. Florida is the exact opposite of California, as is Texas, as is Tennessee, or the exact opposite of New York, New Jersey, Illinois. I mean, that's the world we live in at this point. It literally is like two countries, except all the smart people are going where they're not going to be taxed out the wazoo, and they're going to have businesses that thrive. That's where we are at this point. But again, Mamdani thinks he's doing the right thing. Let's see 2 years from now how people think about that.
Yeah, and there's a trend there across the country, too. Judge Weinberg.
So, Joe, I want to ask you about Bill Maher endorsing Plattner.
Yeah.
I mean, what is with Bill Maher? He was pretending to be a common sense guy, a little left, but at least common sense.
Yeah, he went
fair.
after him. He went after him. He attacked him at one point.
Well, but now he's all aboard because he wants to stop Trump. And he says it's so important that the Senate goes Democratic. What are your thoughts about Maher?
Judge, I think as Bill Maher, who was Jewish at last check, I don't know how you could support anybody who has a has a Nazi tattoo on them, who says that black people don't tip, who says that women should be more adult if they don't want to be raped, who attacks Purple Heart members, who is a communist, who has cheered on Hamas when they've killed Israeli soldiers, a guy who says that ICE should be abolished, a guy who says that DHS should be abolished, a guy who says that border security should not have any funding. That there's nothing common sense about that. And I praise Bill Maher over and over again, but in the end, he is just like every other Democrat in terms of vote blue, no matter who. It's all about power. The ladies of the View are saying the same things now at this point in terms of we just have to take back the Senate and then we're all good to go. And it's a whole bowl of wrong because, again, they can never judge ever take the higher moral ground again when it comes to talking about Donald Trump being a Nazi, an authoritarian, all those things. They don't have that position anymore. And Plattner's going to lose anyway, by the way, guys. And he's going to lose quite easily.
Let's hope so.
Right.
Yeah, we pray.
And you know what we all stand for? truth,
justice, and the American way.
God bless America. Let's go on to
Levin in Progress.
Levin in Progress.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Cats and Cosby with John Catsimatidis and Rita Cosby. You can hear Cats and Cosby weekdays at 5. It's the 5 o'clock show on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?